The banqueting table, as you can see, and everything is now blocked out, or most things are now blocked out in white, so that I am beginning now to put in the colour. So I've started to put a little bit of colour into the candlesticks, these two. As you can see, this one's not been touched as yet. And I'm gradually layering in the colours, and I want these two candlesticks to be gold. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm going to move you across just a little bit so that you can perhaps see more. And the lights aren't shining in my glasses, which they are a bit at the moment, but I am afraid I can't do anything about that. So I'm just going to be adding some more gold to this candlestick. I've put on actually a bronze to start with, and now I'm going to add a brighter gold. And I've been thinking this week about banquets, and one of the first banquets that we hear about that Jesus was involved with was the wedding at Canaan, which I'm sure most of you know. It can be seen in, you can read about it in Matthew, and I'm thinking about that and thinking about the way that he changed water into wine. And there's one thing that I hadn't sort of really registered before until recently, was that the jars, the stone jars that he actually put the wine into, or created the wine in, were ceremonial washing jars. So they would normally be full of water, and they had litres and litres, they really big jars. And those were the jars that they would have washed themselves in before going to worship God. And those were the full of the water that they would ceremonially cleanse themselves with before going into the temple, or to worship God. So there's quite a significance there, because Jesus also uses wine in communion, or breaking bread and wine, whichever you like to call it. And that was all about cleansing, and he uses wine to represent his blood that cleansed us from him dying on the cross for everything that we've done, or what the Bible calls sin. And that was quite interesting. I was quite interested by that significance of the ceremonial cleansing jars of water, and the actual cleansing of us of our sin through Jesus' blood being shed on the cross, and then the wine that represents his blood in communion. That I found quite fascinating. So I've been thinking about that this week, and thinking about all sorts of things, of what communion meant and what the ceremony meant. And you know, this wedding banquet, wasn't just like we do it all in one day, don't we? We have the service, and then we have what we call the wedding breakfast, or the reception afterwards, and we do it all in one day and it's over and done with. But in Jesus' day, it went on for a week. And the amount of wine and food that would have been eaten and drunk in that whole week of having people there for your wedding must have been terrific. And so Jesus was called on by Mary to help out, because this family that had run out of wine, And that in their day would have been something, you know, would have been something dreadful to have run out of wine for your guests to drink. So Jesus steps in and he saves the day, or the week as it were, for them, and does this amazing miracle of providing all of this wine, you know. And I thought, why on earth do they want the litres and litres and litres of wine in these jars when they've had already what you'd imagine to be their fill? But if it went on for a week, then you can understand why they needed litres and litres. And the master of ceremonies said, but why have you brought out the best wine? Because Jesus, in his miracle, created not just bottom shelf wine, but top shelf wine. If you go into Tesco's or one of the supermarkets, it's usually the cheap stuff at the bottom and the expensive stuff at the top. And he produced, in this miracle, he produced top shelf wine. And they were amazed and enjoying all this. And of course the people that were at the banquet had no idea where this wine had come from. And the master of ceremonies obviously didn't either. But the servants knew exactly where it had come from and how they had got the best wine now at the end of the whole celebration. So that in many respects is quite amazing. It was like I was saying in the last part, like the first part that I did, I'd said that, you know, God was a God of detail, and this is a detail, but it's also the best of the best. He hasn't given, you know, the cheapest. He hasn't given the least. He's given the most. And that's exactly what Jesus did when he gave his life for us too. He gave us everything. God sent his best, his one and only son. You know, you know, when you think about these things, it is amazing and awesome what God did. And yeah, this was Jesus' first miracle that we're told about. But it was the beginning. It was very much the beginning of his ministry. I'm sorry, the light's shining on my glasses, but it's not just the lights I've got on in here, it's the sun coming in. We've got quite a nice evening here, and the sun's coming in, and it's beautiful outside after what has been quite a grey day and a very windy day, and hence the scarf around my neck. It's been quite cold here in the studio, and you might be able to hear my fan heater going on and off, but the sun has now come out and it's a beautiful evening. So I'm in the studio and I'm just beginning to add the gold to these candlesticks. I want them to look quite beautiful and the best. I might need to do several layers just to build up this gold to get a real depth of colour on there. I don't know quite how much is showing up on camera, but it's gradually getting a layer on there. Ooh, I'm putting it down the wrong way round and putting it on my hands now. I should really have started at the top and worked down. So I might disappear, or my head might disappear, because I can't get all of this canvas in for you to see and reach what I want to do. I'll try and stretch so that you can still see me and see the canvas. It's slowly building up colour and texture. I want this to be quite opulent, is the word, I think. I want it to be the best. Like Jesus supplied the best wine. I want this to look like this is the best that God is supplying for us, that God is giving us. He's not just giving us a nice table, but he's giving us a table with beautiful things on it, and a table with things that look expensive and luxurious, because he gives us the best of the best, just like he did with the wine. So I'm going to carry on adding more and more colour and texture to this painting, and I'm going to switch off the video now and carry on and let you see a bit more very soon. Okay, bye bye.